Right now at noon, those living in Janesville could get more say on a proposal for a data center in the area, what the proposed petition would do. Plus, the Trump administration seeks to change its strategy in Minnesota, where there's new scrutiny of the Homeland Security Secretary. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Breiter. Happening today, the former principal at Sun Prairie West High School is getting formally charged. Jennifer Ploger is charged with 3 misdemeanor counts of failing to report child abuse. Sun Prairie police announced earlier this month they referred charges against her following an investigation into former Dean Robert Gilkey Messigier. An independent investigator found Ploger was told multiple times that Gilkey Messigier had inappropriate relationships with students, but she wrote the allegations off as just rumors. Gilkey Messigier was later charged with 13 counts of possession of child pornography and 2 counts of child sexual exploitation and was indicted by a federal grand jury. He pleaded guilty last week in federal court to 1 count of producing child pornography and is scheduled to be sentenced on February 6th. Ploger is scheduled to make an initial appearance in court on March 2nd. The Janesville City Council is considering a petition to give its citizens a bigger voice in a potential data center development. Back on January 6th, members of No Janesville Data Center delivered a petition to City Hall. It requests that the city defer any development project exceeding $450 million at the publicly owned GM site. It would also require voter approval through a referendum.
We are rarely more than a few months from an election. The idea that the referendum for projects exceeding $450 million might be hard to plan for or execute is frankly absurd. What having a referendum does do, however, is require city staff to be more disciplined and more effective in their due diligence.
A second reading and public hearing on the ordinance is set to be held in 2 weeks at the next city council meeting. One person is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries after they were hit by a vehicle in Madison. The crash happened early Monday afternoon. First responders were called to the intersection of South Park Street and Fish Hatchery Road. They found a pedestrian on the ground. The victim was shoveling snow when the vehicle left the roadway and hit them. A Verona woman is hurt after hitting a light pole. This crash happened Monday afternoon on American Way near the Costco. The woman was the only person in the vehicle. She was treated at the scene of the crash before being taken to a local hospital for further care. The state's Department of Health Services is confirming a case of measles in Waukesha County. It is the first confirmed case in Wisconsin this year. Officials say the case is related to international travel. DHS and Waukesha County Health and Human Services are working to identify and notify people who have been exposed. No public exposure locations have been identified so far. This comes at a time when cases are surging nationwide. Many fear the U.S. will lose its measles elimination status. Let's get a first check of your first warn forecast now. Here's meteorologist Blaze Keller. Hi, Blaze.
Hello. It is still pretty chilly out there, but there is that sunshine, which is going to be on and off throughout the day. Partly sunny to mostly sunny conditions. Taking a live look out in Dodgeville on our Upland Hill Skycam, where it is 10 degrees, but it still feels below zero as winds continue to remain breezy out of the northwest. But we are, for some of us, in those double digits. Madison, Monroe, Janesville, Lone Rock, Platteville, to name a few. We are the lucky ones who are in those double digits. Everybody else is still in the single digits, but at least above zero. However, with those northwesterly winds, it does still continue to feel for many of us like we are at least a few degrees below zero on this Tuesday afternoon. What are we looking at in terms of the rest of the day? Well, it's going to continue to remain breezy, mostly clear at times. A few flurries can't be ruled out, but we're not expecting much in the way of accumulation, if any, accumulating snow. Temperatures ranging from about 8 to maybe 11 degrees, so right around 10 is where most of us will settle for this afternoon. We should be in those upper 20s, Josh, and there is good news. Those upper 20s and even some 30s popping up in the extended forecast when they'll return in just a few minutes.
You know, it's amazing just how being above zero feels kind of good out.
I know. I've got a beaming smile because we're talking about 30s.
Oh, it's balmy. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Blaze. Well, with these temperatures right now, News 3 Now is asking for your help in supporting the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund through our Week of Warmth. Out of every dollar donated, 95 cents will go directly to help those in crisis stay warm and safe. It all leads up to our telethon on Friday. If you'd like to donate, you can see the QR code on your screen. We also have a link on our donation page at channel3000.com. Right now, the Trump administration appears to be changing its tone and strategy following the shooting death of Minneapolis resident Alex Preddy by a Border Patrol agent. Natalie Brandt has that story.
In the face of intense public backlash and bipartisan criticism, President Trump's border czar Tom Homan is hitting the ground in Minnesota to take over immigration enforcement operations.
Mr. Homan is the point person for cooperating with state and local authorities and corresponding with them.
The change in strategy comes as Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara told CBS News people have had enough.
They know this is damaging to the reputations of their agencies. They know this is damaging to the culture in these agencies, and this is creating problems that will take years and years to fix.
CBS News has also learned some of the 800 Customs and Border Protection agents that were part of the larger federal force sent to the Minneapolis area are leaving, along with outspoken Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, who said this following Saturday's deadly shooting of Alex Preddy.
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
Other administration officials labeled Preddy as a domestic terrorist over the weekend, but Monday the White House took a different tone.
I have not heard the president characterize Mr. Preddy in that way. However, I have heard the president say he wants to let the facts in the investigation lead itself.
Sources tell CBS News DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is facing scrutiny within the Trump administration and questions over the handling of the shooting and the response. Sources say she's expected to keep her job but shift her focus from interior enforcement operations in major U.S. cities to the southern border and other administration priorities. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Secretary Noem is scheduled to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee in early March. Well, we've been looking into how local and federal law enforcement work together in these types of operations. Under the U.S. Constitution, local and state officials are not required to participate in federal operations, including immigration enforcement. Local agencies can decline to assist ICE or federal agents in many circumstances. Madison police say they only cooperate with ICE under certain conditions, such as when someone is arrested for a violent felony.
When it comes to denying any type of additional services, if it's for crowd control or traffic management or even participation in the actual ICE operations themselves, the local municipality can deny that request. They're under no obligation to assist, again, only if it's an imminent life and death situation.
But some local law enforcement agencies can choose to cooperate with the federal government. For example, the Sauk County Sheriff's Office has a contract with the feds to allow ICE to house detainees in their county jail. This afternoon, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and DATCAP are warning drivers about a new toll payment scam targeting Wisconsinites. Officials say these scam texts claim drivers owe outstanding toll fees and appear to come from a legitimate tolling agency. The messages often include final notice warnings. They contain a link to pay that leads to a convincing but fake toll payment page. If you spot one, do not click the link. Instead, contact your state's tolling agency directly to verify any outstanding fees. Officials also ask that you report the scam to DATCAP by visiting consumerprotection.wi.gov. You can also call 800-422-7128. Coming up next on News 3 Now at noon, how Southwest Airlines is starting its new seating policy today. Plus, why President Trump says he's now raising tariffs on South Korea.
President Trump says he's raising tariffs on South Korea because its legislature has not yet approved the trade deal the two countries reached last year. In a social media post, the president announced tariffs on products like automobiles, lumber, and pharmaceuticals will increase from 15% to 25%. According to the latest census data for 2025, South Korea is the U.S.'s 8th largest trading partner. Today, Southwest kicks off assigned seating, ending its well-known open seating policy after 5 decades. The airline now offers new fare tiers for basic, preferred, and extra legroom seating with boarding groups based on fare type, seat location, and loyalty membership status. The change comes as the country continues to dig out from the weekend's winter weather, with nearly 7,000 flights canceled in the U.S. Monday, according to FlightAware. And at least 6 states are ramping up their subsidies towards Affordable Care Act health plans, according to policy analyst Louise Norris from healthinsurance.org. Millions of Americans are currently facing higher health care premiums after federal ACA tax credits expired at the beginning of the year. The House passed a 3-year extension on the credits earlier this month, and that bill now sits in the Senate. 10 states in all offer ACA subsidies. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
And at the noon hour, here's your stock report. The Dow is down 540 points. NASDAQ is up, though, 198. And the S&P 500 is up 30. Our call for action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833. You can also submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. We'll have today's farm numbers up next, and Blaze is tracking the first warn forecast. Then later on Live at 4, continuing coverage of how Wisconsin ties into the fatal ice shooting of Alex Preddy in Minnesota. Pam Yankee is out of the radio barn this afternoon, so here are your farm numbers. Time now for your certified most accurate forecast with First Warn meteorologist Blaze Keller. And I'm looking at that map. We're going to have double-digit temperatures soon.
We are going to be, well, some of us are in the double digits right now, and we are going to stay there through the rest of the extended forecast, getting into the 20s by the weekend, possibly into the 30s as we kick off February. Even though we are going to be slowly warming, we're not seeing any major snowstorms. That trend continues to be on the drier side as we go over the next 7 to 10 days. That might change once this whole weather pattern starts to break down. I would say no sooner than maybe Valentine's Day. So until then, don't expect much in the way of at least heavy snow. We might squeeze out a few flurries today as a clipper system makes its way through southern parts of Canada, but for the most part, yet another strong high pressure system moves on in, keeps our winds mainly out of the north as we go through the overnight hours into Wednesday, further into Thursday and Friday. Not anticipating, again, any sort of big weather system to move on through, but this high pressure system, as it continues to make its way south, the fact that it's going to be moving further south allows southerly winds to then take on over and warm us up as we head into the weekend. So throughout the next 7 to 10 days, don't expect much in the way of accumulating snow. But at least for the rest of January in the Madison area, that is fine. Believe it or not, we've actually accumulated 15 inches on the dot of snow compared to the 13.7 we normally need to accumulate during a normal January. We can thank the back-to-back 5+ inches of snow on the 16th and the 17th to really get us up into that total amount of snow that we needed. Again, 15 inches, it doesn't really seem like it because a lot of this has been more of that fluffier snow that quickly blew away. But again, we have accumulated more snow than what we need, technically, for the month of January. In terms of temperatures, as I mentioned, we will get into the 20s by the weekend. That's when that high pressure system pushes its way south, and then southerly winds can take on over. And as we look even towards the end of our extended forecast, this is getting closer to the middle of February. That is when it really does look like this strong weather pattern that has kept us on the cooler than average side does start to break down. I don't know how long it stays broken down for, but at least through the maybe middle of February, or as we get closer to the middle of February, we ease into probably more of a warmer than average temperature trend. But that means that we stay cooler than average through the rest of January. We are now officially cooler than average for this for our average temperature from the start of the month through yesterday's date. This is the first time pretty much all January that we have been there, barred, forgetting the first few days there. But with an average temperature of 18.1 degrees, we are now almost a degree and a half cooler than where we should be for this time of in the month, and that extends to a lot of Wisconsin. As I mentioned, closer to Valentine's Day, I think we do start to ease into that warmer than average temperature trend. Up until then, I would not expect any long-term warmer than average temperature trends. Maybe we get above average 1 or 2 days, but in terms of like a long-term warmer than average temperature trend, like how we've been cooler than average for the last, it seems like forever, that I don't think is going to happen until at least mid-February. So we could squeeze out some flurries today and then again on Sunday, but eventually we will get into those upper 20s to low 30s. That is going to feel great compared to where we have been over these last few days for sure.
Break out the shorts.
Break them out and put on the sunscreen.
All right, Blaze, thank you. And this reminder, News 3 Now is asking for your help supporting the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund through our week of warmth. Out of every dollar donated, 95 cents goes directly to help those in crisis. This all leads up to our telethon on Friday. There's the QR code on your screen. It's also on channel3000.com. If you're wondering where your mail is, you are not alone. We've heard from several people in Dane County who say their mail is showing up late. Steve Wunsch is one of those folks just now receiving his envelopes that were supposed to arrive a week ago. He has signed up for informed delivery through USPS. This lets you know when you'll receive mail, but lately when they've been notifying him, the mail itself has been late or yet to come.
We've had numerous episodes now where mail's been delayed long time, several days, 5 days or longer, of course raises concerns. What's happened to your mail? Has it been stolen? Is it lost?
In an email to News 3 Now, USPS says heavy snow and extreme weather has impacted their services. They say mail is expected to be fully delivered now unless the area has snow and ice. Up next at noon, UW Health clinical dietitian Michelle Harnish is here to discuss women's nutrition. It's also introduce a new series from UW Health. Stay with us. Welcome back at noon. UW Health clinical dietitian Michelle Harnish is back for this month's health segment, and today we're talking about women's nutrition, which I understand is very complex.
Very complex, yes. It doesn't get enough airtime or credit. It should be addressed more. Women have such complex biological and hormonal systems that you really need to be conscious of what stage of life you're in, because there's different times when women might run risks of being malnutrition. They need different types of care. They need different types of exercise. And so we want to make sure that we're giving the education and the support for that. Obviously, that's something a little bit too in-depth to do now, but that's why I wanted to talk about it today.
And there are quite a few topics even within that complex nature there too.
Yes, the stage of life that you're in. Even if you are affected by a certain disease, sometimes if you're a woman, the signs and symptoms show up differently. So it really can encompass your whole life throughout your whole life cycle.
What are some of these ideas that they should be focusing on?
Well, one of the things that we are going to start looking at is definitely heart health, because that's one of those conditions where symptoms show up differently, sometimes for men and women. And then, of course, there's things like perimenopause and menopause, obviously pregnancy, things like that are big topics. And plus, we have newer things like GLP-1 use that also women have different needs and concerns sometimes when they're on that medication. So those are just a few of the varied topics that women have to deal with when they're looking at their health care.
Yeah, and it's important to make sure that you're focusing on all of them because it all ties together. And I know UW Health is going to have a push here soon that you guys are really focusing on this.
Yeah, we're really hoping to kind of bring the care to people in a more fun, educational way. So the UW dietitians have got a series of 4 events coming up starting in February. And what they're going to be is a little bit educational, but it's also going to be combined with a cooking demo. So you're going to go learn about the topics. When you go there, you'll get some information. You'll also get a healthy recipe, and you'll get to taste the demo that they have shown how to make. So hopefully it'll be very inspiring and very practical.
And it's important just to be able to tie it into your own life because we all know we have different bodies, we all have different lifestyles, so it's a whole big thing.
Yeah, and these classes, you can join the ones that you're interested in. You know, if you want to register for all 4, that's great. If you're just interested in a certain topic, that's fine too. The classes that are listed here, you can go to the UW Health Learning Kitchen website to register. The first 2 are open now. The second 2 are going to open soon. There is an $8 fee for each class just to pay for the supplies and the food. But anybody's welcome. You don't have to be part of the UW system normally to take advantage of these classes.
Very good, important stuff. Michelle, thanks for visiting today.
Thanks
We
a lot.
appreciate it. Let's go to Blaze now for a final check of your forecast.
And we are looking at sunny but breezy conditions through the rest of the afternoon. A few flurries can't be ruled out. A dusting at best. Josh and folks at home, temperatures above 0 and in those double digits for most of us by later this afternoon. And as we look ahead to the rest of the extended forecast, other than Thursday, we should stay in those double digits, 20s by the weekend, 30s maybe by the end of next week. That is going to feel great. There is a look at that 7-day forecast. Little to no snow over the extent.
All right, Blaze, thank you. And there's our QR code, Week of Warmth. Donate now to make a difference to those facing an energy crisis right now.